of entertainment, current events, and Hollywood. Don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creator.
Tonight's episode is not designed to comfort you. It is designed to confront you. Because the story of the Epstein files is not just a scandal, not just a criminal case, and not just a moment of public outrage. It is a mirror reflecting the darkest mechanics of power, wealth, and silence in modern society. When people first hear the name Epstein, they often think of one man, one island, one network. But this story is far bigger than any single individual. It is about a system that enabled exploitation, protected predators, and normalized abuse at the highest levels of influence. To understand how we got here, we have to start with power itself. Power is not just money. It is access. It is protection. It is influence. It is the ability to shape narratives, manipulate systems, and erase consequences. Epstein didn't rise through traditional paths of success. His wealth, connections, and immunity didn't follow logic. Instead, they followed proximity. Proximity to those who already controlled global finance, politics, media, and cultural influence. And through that proximity, he created a web of obligation, leverage, and silence. This was not just criminal behavior. It was strategic positioning inside elite structures that rarely face real accountability. As Epstein embedded himself into powerful circles, a disturbing reality emerged. Many people either knew, suspected, or deliberately avoided knowing. And that distinction matters, because silence is not neutral. Silence is participation. In a system built on reputation, luxury, and prestige, calling out abuse becomes a threat to everyone who benefits from the structure. When we talk about power and corruption, we can't treat it as something new. Corruption has always been part of American history. This country was founded on ideals of freedom and justice, yet it was built through exploitation, displacement, and inequality. That contradiction sits at the core of our culture. Power was concentrated early, and once power is concentrated, it protects itself. What's changed isn't corruption, it's how it's packaged. Today, it's hidden behind celebrity culture, social media drama, viral outrage, and nonstop distraction. We consume scandal instead of confronting systems. We debate personalities instead of demanding accountability. And while we're entertained, real power operates quietly in the background. Celebrity culture plays a huge role in this. Fame becomes a shield. Influence becomes protection. When powerful figures are accused, the focus quickly shifts to image, branding, and fan loyalty, while victims fade into the background. Serious harm becomes public drama, and accountability gets lost in noise. This is how corruption survives. Not through secrecy, but through distraction. We stay overwhelmed, divided, and emotionally reactive, while systems remain untouched. Outrage burns fast, then disappears, and power simply waits it out. The Epstein files didn't expose something new. They exposed something old, a system that has always protected the powerful while sacrificing the vulnerable.
But I'm speaking about me because I'm getting dragged. People actually believe that I was with him. It's like, honey, come on. Every man that I've ever been with, you've known about him because either the Inquirer wrote it about it. Your people wrote about this stuff. So no, I never had this, and no, I didn't get on the plane because you know what I would have to do to get on the plane?
Fly.
They were trying to,
And she doesn't fly.
No, so they're trying
She's
to
a
get
bus
me.
babe.
They're trying to get me to get on a plane to get to this thing for Julian Lang.
Let's go to the other end of the law enforcement scale and talk about the Epstein files. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi's been before Congress. She says that everything that's going to be released has been released. There are 300 politicians and prominent people named in the files. But the president, in the last few hours, has had his say again on the Epstein files.
I have nothing to hide. I've been exonerated. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. They went in hoping that they'd find it and found just the opposite. I've been totally exonerated.
Totally exonerated. It has worked out pretty well for him, despite the expectations of the political left over the past couple of years, Kristen.
Yeah, that's true. However, I would say this new list that was released has kind of infuriated both sides of the political aisle, just because people are really upset that there were so many millions of emails that were redacted. And also the way Pam Bondi did it kind of muddied the water on who was a predator and who was simply mentioned in an email. There were 300 or so people that were included in her letter, as you mentioned, really famous people. And you had people like, the songwriter Janis Joplin mentioned as one of the 300 people. Janis Joplin died when Jeffrey Epstein was 17 years old. And then you have her in there with people like Lex Wexner, who was a seriously questionable guy involved in what seems like a lot of bad stuff. So all these names were kind of jumbled together. You had even like Marjorie Taylor Greene mentioned as a name on this list. And yet the actual documents that, included her name to give us context were redacted. So people would like a little more transparency, but it's a good step in the right direction. And it does seem so far that Trump has been exonerated. So that's great.
Well, one person who certainly hasn't been exonerated is the former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's getting a lot of attention. Some new photos have been brought to light here. We can show of the Prince when he was working for British taxpayers, effectively, hanging around with various women who are unnamed. Is this getting a lot of attention in the US, or are they focusing more on the politicians?
Oh, no, it's getting quite a bit of attention. And I think this could take down the entire royal family. I mean, anti-monarchy sentiment is at highs right now in Britain. I saw a poll that only like 51% of people there say it's very important to have a monarchy. That is down significantly from 86% in the 1980s. So this is very bad news for the royal family in America. Of course, the Americans are very interested in this as well. It is just such a far-reaching scandal that seems like it touches every part of the globe, and people are fascinated by it, but we do need more transparency, I think.
Like, I think holding these files, as long as they've held these files with all of the information that's in it, has made it very clear that the people that are at the head of all of this can do whatever they want and make people believe whatever they want. I think we're speaking about this from a place where we're trying to make it seem like things are fair and people are just and people are decent. And rather than looking at it for what it is, the one thing that all of these files and all of these documents, and let's just be clear, we're talking about 3 million documents that have been released so far. When you release that amount of information, you're doing it to fatigue people. It's going to take people quite some time to get through all of these files, and who knows how long they're going to be available. Stuff might start go missing, things of that nature. But we all should be going through and combing through every inch of everything that's going on, because when they put that much out there, they're hoping you're going to just overlook something. They're hoping you're going to get fatigued from all of the information, and you're not. We got to keep looking. Like, we have like 4 people around us that are every day combing through a bit. We combing through a bit. And you got to sit down and you got to take your time and look at it. What these files prove is that there are no rules, is that nothing has ever been fair. It's been being covered up. Like, that's the point.
So who are the real villains in this story? Is it only the individuals who committed crimes? Or is it the financial systems that moved their money, the legal systems that delayed their prosecution, the political systems that granted them immunity, the media systems that protected their reputations, the social systems that normalized their behavior? Evil rarely survives alone. it requires infrastructure. And in this case, that infrastructure was vast, global, and deeply embedded. This is where the narrative becomes deeply personal, because power is not something distant. It shapes every life. It determines whose pain matters, whose stories are believed, and whose suffering is dismissed. The Epstein files expose not just elite corruption, but a hierarchy of human worth, a system where the lives of vulnerable young people were deemed expendable in comparison to the comfort of powerful men. And that hierarchy exists everywhere, in courtrooms, in boardrooms, in media narrative. Celebrities and public figures who challenged power and paid the price. Rose McGowan, one of the earliest and loudest voices exposing abuse in Hollywood, McGowan spoke openly about systemic exploitation in the entertainment industry. After coming forward, she faced career blacklisting, media attacks, legal battles, and industry isolation. Her experience revealed how deeply entrenched protection systems were inside Hollywood. Brendan Fraser spoke publicly about being sexually assaulted by a powerful Hollywood executive and later described how his career stalled afterward. For years, he disappeared from major roles, later explaining that speaking out carried professional consequences. His eventual return to Hollywood highlighted how long silencing can last. Corey Feldman spent decades trying to expose abuse within the child entertainment industry. He faced ridicule, threats, lawsuits, media mockery, and professional exile. Years later, multiple allegations across Hollywood validated many of his warnings. Sinead O'Connor Long, before institutional abuse scandals were widely acknowledged, she publicly condemned corruption and abuse inside powerful institutions. She was immediately blacklisted by the music industry, mocked by the media, and labeled unstable. Decades later, many of the abuses she warned about were confirmed. Kanye West spoke openly about exploitative record deals, lack of artist ownership, and corporate control in music and fashion. He challenged major labels, media institutions, and fashion elites, calling out the systems that profit off creators while limiting their power. As he became more vocal, industry support waned. Media narrative shifted from his critiques to sensationalizing his behavior. Partnerships and sponsorships were lost, and platforms distanced themselves. His personal struggles were amplified, turning him into a spectacle, while his systemic critiques were ignored. Kanye's story illustrates how the system punishes those who challenge it, not always through silence or legal action, but by isolation, loss of legitimacy, and public framing. Influence can vanish quickly when power feels threatened.
I don't care who you are. I ain't taking no slice from nobody. Nobody is God. It's the only person that I serve. My mom ain't here. My mama was sacrificed. You understand? Yeah. Michael Jordan, what about him? His daddy, right? Bill Cosby, his son, right? Dr. Dre, his son. You know, out in Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing. Feels like it might be a lot of that in order to control, traumatize. They want to monetize and traumatize. You understand? They hit me. Gap, Adidas, all that away. Still, Forbes, who hate me, right? Had to write net worth 400 million. Jesus is king. God loved me.
That's the more important thing in life.
That's the thing. You know what I'm saying? And this truth is going to be heard. Y'all can't send none of y'all Meek Mills, y'all Puppies, y'all Lil Boozy, none of these names, none of these people that have to listen to y'all because they have legal. I never killed nobody, right? I'm the pussy. that never killed nobody, right? But that means I can say whatever I want and not go to jail.
How far do you think things go when it comes to all this being combed through and the rest of the documents in these files with these, millionaires, billionaires, people of status?
I wish I could go into detail. I wish I could be completely honest, but the truth is, even if I were to do that, they would all say that I'm lying. They would all say that I'm crazy. They would all say that I'm messing, I'm making stuff up, just like they've been saying until this happened, just like they said before until the raid happened, just like, you know what I mean? So it's, I think it's fair to say that there's depravity linked to all of it.
Yeah, there's a picture of Epstein with a young, I want to say she's probably 11 or 12, maybe younger. There's a picture of her in an outfit, Epstein smiling with her. Then they change over to another picture, the girl's hogtied in the bed, same outfit on. And that right there, even just seeing that, it lets me know that this is going to a level that I don't think even we're ready for.
On Christmas Day in 2012 at 6 in the morning, Jeffrey Epstein, who's just gotten out of a county jail where he had been serving a 13-month sentence, gets an email out of the blue from one of the richest men in the world. It reads, "I've been working to the edge of sanity this year, and so once my kids head home after Christmas, I really want to hit the party scene in St. Bart's or elsewhere and let loose. A peaceful island experience is the opposite of what I'm looking for." 2 months later, he emails Epstein again, asking which night on the island would have the wildest party. In return, Epstein offers to send a helicopter to bring him. That man was Elon Musk, and many years later, now the richest man on Earth, he would tell the world, publicly, disgustedly, in his own words, "Epstein tried to get me to go on his island, and I refused." He wrote, "I had very little correspondence with Epstein and declined repeated invitations to go to his island or fly on his Lolita Express. But Elon Musk was lying, and he was not alone." For years, the friends of Jeffrey Epstein have been in a battle to prove their innocence. Who had known him only as a rich financier, and who knew his darkest secrets? "I never went to the island, I never met any women, and although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior." Who had cut him off after he went to prison the first time, and who came right back to support him after he was released? Who knew exactly what he was and stayed in his inner circle anyway? Did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation? I have nothing to hide. And so now, with 3.5 million documents from Epstein's personal computer accounts being released to the public, we finally have an answer to all of these questions. In the spring of 2012, Epstein was planning a trip to Paris, and during an email with a friend, he lets it slip that he's going with Woody. Woody, of course, being the 4-time Academy Award-winning, world-famous film director with 50 movies to his name, Woody Allen. And then, Epstein's friend asks if they're going for the pedophile convention, to which Epstein replies, "I think philia is the plural." And Woody Allen, besides being a filmmaker, is also the man who began a sexual relationship with and later married his own ex-wife's adopted daughter. Woody Allen goes on to appear in the files 7,000 times. They planned visits to Little St. James and Epstein's ranch in New Mexico. They organized dinners in New York and Paris. Epstein gives him furniture. He coordinates with his wife. Woody Allen made movies. He has fame, influence, cultural capital. He's a highly respected artist. Really, he's one of the most beloved filmmakers alive. Critics praise his films. Journalists still clamor to talk to him. Actors want to work with him. He's received every award there is. But at the same time, he spent years scheduling visits to Jeffrey Epstein's island. And the fact that he was right there in Epstein's inner circle for years after the conviction, it tells you something that's deeper than just emails. It tells you that Epstein's world wasn't a shadowy conspiracy. It wasn't hidden. It was full of the same people our culture celebrates. His friends were directors with Oscars, scientists who stand on stage and give TED Talks and release best-selling books, politicians who decide our fate. These are the people we've been taught to admire, to trust, and to believe are the good ones in life. But they were all there and they all knew. And I think this is where the Epstein story starts to shift under our feet. It's stopped being about him and what he did, and instead he becomes this virus that spreads to everyone around him, until it spreads so far that the entire world starts looking different. You have to ask, who is bigger than them that they're trying to protect? This is the sacrificial lamb technique. In any massive scandal, the system eventually reaches a breaking point where it can no longer hide everything. When that happens, the architects of the system choose who to throw overboard to satisfy the public's hunger for the truth. They give the people some names to direct their anger and disgust towards, while the worst of them all get away with it. By serving up the music industry and the tech elite, the Department of Justice creates a mission accomplished moment. They give you just enough evidence to feel like the investigation is fully moving forward, while the politicians, the intelligent assets, and the true architects of Epstein's operation remain safely hidden behind those black bars of redaction and the other cover-up methods. The truth is, the 2026 Epstein files aren't a victory for transparency. They're a masterclass in narrative control. They gave us the names we already suspected, so we stopped looking for the names of the worst monsters of them all. Jay-Z and Pusha T might be in the logs, Musk and Gates might be in the emails, but none of this is 100% proof of what we all know they did. They made sure to release just enough to satisfy but not convict. The story shouldn't end with just who went to the island. It should end with who helped build the system Jeffrey operated in.
The Epstein files are not the end of this story. They are the beginning of deeper questions about who we protect, who we believe, who we silence, and who we hold accountable, because truth, once exposed, does not disappear. It lingers, it echoes, it pushes, it demands reckoning. And once you see the truth, once the pattern becomes clear, once the illusion falls away, you can't unsee it. Until next time, stay aware. Keep spreading truth. Good night.